project really has a much greater opportunity for success. And that's all I have. Thanks.
Introduce Grant Jensen. Now, a number of you have participated in some of the focus groups that Grant did to take some community input. One thing that I want to make real clear from the onset, and I'm sure that he will as well, is that the economic impact study is not yet, the final version has not yet been presented to the City Council. Hasn't been presented publicly. And our intention today is certainly not at all to do that. It needs to go through appropriate channels. The council needs to have the opportunity to take a look at it, and it needs to be vetted in front of a council session before that report is given. However, just in talking with him regarding the entire process, we felt that it would be valuable for him to come over and give us a little bit of input regarding the process that went into it, some of the technology he utilized, and maybe some of the groundwork that he started from, and give us a little update on some of what's happened so far. So are we ready to go with the camera?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so Grant, take it away.
Good. Thanks, John. A lot of faces here that I recognize. Thank you for coming out to support me. Appreciate it. It's always easier to talk before a group that you recognize people in. As John related, the study is complete. We received, actually, about 11 o'clock last night, the document from WSU, which we've been waiting for over a week, to actually have the report in a format that we can, in fact, send it to Brent, and it should be on its way to the City Council and the Mayor for their review and assessment. The report itself, we are not going to get into today. I cannot, nor will I give you any direct implications or indications of what the impacts are that came out of the report. What I am going to show you is some pieces, though, that we have included in the report that is pretty much general information and kind of help in the understanding of part of the overall process that we have gone through as a research firm in looking at the community, looking at other communities with airports, etc. Go ahead. One of the issues that we faced is that there's really very little opportunity to gather good information about the current airport. But something that we did pick up on that I thought was particularly interesting is that people who do actually log into the airport when they fly in, and it's reported, but we don't have accurate numbers, but it's reported that almost 60%, which is very consistent with the percentages from other airports in the state, are inbound flights that are visitors that generate from outside the area and come in. Surprising number of people actually come into this area for business purposes. This is off of actual logs, and I know that most of the people have seen these logs. But if you take charter, if you take passenger drop-off or pickup, government agency activities, there's a heavy amount of actual business-related or activities that have downstream impact to the community. The study itself was to develop a roster of compatible airports based on community size, distance, etc., to calculate probable on-airport and visitor spending, to model the economic impact of on-airport and visitor spending using a standardized model called IMPLAN. It was developed University quite a number of years ago, and has become virtually the only modeling system that brings forward current information as well as historic information, and is used extensively throughout private business as well as the public sector. And then to discuss the potential for additional economic effects for which a quantitative estimate cannot be made. And in order to do that, we actually did a series of focus groups that I'll talk about in a minute. What we looked at was the area study, or the regions. We looked at Colville as being the center of this area. We tried to understand what its sphere of influences truly are. We looked at 25 miles, 35 miles, and 50 miles, or actually just under 60 miles. And 60, of course, is that criteria of mileage to see how it fits within the aviation division's projections. In all of our analysis, in order to be consistent with all other regions, regional airports that we looked at, we chose actually 30 miles as the dividing line, and looked within that area. We went ahead and mapped out where the current regional airports are that service basically the eastern part of the state, primarily Cascades East, and you notice a big hole up there, John. And this is what happens to that grid or intersections of transportation support services supported by air when you actually put the regional airport for Colville into that mix. The focus groups that I talked about, and I know so many of you participated in, with my personal thanks and the thanks of the community. We did 6 total groups: large manufacturing, major retails, 2 different basically small business and community-oriented groups. We did some governmental agencies, we did service industries, construction, real estate, and development. And part of this was to not only understand the current use of the existing airport, how many businesses actually use the airport or think they use the airport, or would even consider using the airport. Well, not everybody needs the services of the airport, and that's clear and understandable and reasonable. There are some individuals that use the airport quite extensively, even with its limitations. But in order to gather an overall understanding of how the projected new airport fits in the region, we did a guided exercise with a format that is familiar to most businesses, and that's a SWOT analysis. It has to do with the strengths, weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats. And everyone was able to participate in that discussion. It didn't matter their point of view, whether they liked the airport, didn't like the airport, thought that it brought something to the community or not. Everybody could participate in that discussion, bring their information and ideas forward. And it turned out to be highly successful. We learned a lot from that. IMPLAN is really based on input from 2 different models. The first is descriptive, and the second is predictive. John? The descriptive model represents what is existing. pretty straightforward. I'm not going to read it to you, but it has a number of layers, but it kind of gives you a snapshot into right now. The predictive model assesses the total impact of an economic impact over time in the area being studied. So what happens is that we look at something right now, but also how do we project that and project it accurately. The algorithms within InPlan have been tested and tested and tested and tested and tested, and it is highly predictable as to what will happen. The community, businesses, the economic scaling, the multipliers that happen, and the impact is linear. So if you're familiar with the research process, when we talk about regression is used to track something over time in a straight line basis, whether it goes up, whether it goes down. This virtually acts the same way. The direct effects were already mentioned. What happens immediately? What's happening now? The indirect effects, let me go back. That went off the screen, sorry about that. Represents the changes in industry purchases as the economy responds to the new demands directly affected by industries. So what happens is, as it was mentioned, somebody flies in, they get out of their plane, they hop in the courtesy car, they go into town, they do business, they buy lunch, they buy gas, they make other purchases, or do other business. And that sequence of indirect effects, there are calculations for. And then there's the induced effects, and they represent changes in spending from households as income increases due to the changes in production. One of the things that we looked at very specifically in the economic impact was what happens to this community by the impact of construction. If the airport, in fact, is approved and is constructed. How many jobs? What does that mean in terms of total families? How much income? How much extra spending will happen in this community? What's the tax impact? And then lastly is an area that becomes important as well, and that's value added. And it's the difference between an industry or establishment's total output and the cost of its immediate inputs, such as raw materials. Again, it's a way to look at distribution and to try to calculate one aspect of annual impact. Sorry, this scrolled off the screen, but we looked at out of I forgot the total number of general aviation-based airports in the United States. We narrowed our search down to approximately 50 regional airports, and then cut that down to 9 that we actually are reporting on. We have a population of primary city under 20,000. The population within a 25-mile radius is 70,000 or under. It's located at least 60 miles from the nearest airport offering major commercial service. It's equipped with ILS runway at least 4,000 feet, at least 10 general aviation flights per day. So this is who we chose. The airport in Alamosa, Colorado, Rifle, Colorado. By the way, if you saw pictures of rifle. I saw it on their chamber